Good evening, all participants and speakers. It gives me great pleasure in speaking in this highly qualified forum. General NP Singh has covered a lot of points which have been related to quality. He has experience of uh, the armed forces, that is the users, as well as his experience of being in Russia for a long time. I'm speaking out of my experience with 16 years working with the Ordnance Factories. Out of these 16 years, I have spent 3 years as the resident quality assurance officer with Gun and Shell Factory, Kashipur, the oldest of the ordnance factories, and the Ordnance Factory, Damdam. I've also been part of many defect investigations, some which General NP also mentioned, that is T-72 barrel busts. I was part of the Russian team which came from Russia to carry out the defect investigations. I've done various process control studies, process audits, and defect investigations. And so I have briefly uh, worked out a few points which are needed by the ordnance factories in the coming future. This reorganization done is probably the first step towards that. General NP covered about the quality issues from the Army perspective. Now, I have shortlisted around 10 or 11 points, which I'll briefly cover with examples if possible, not exceeding my time limit. First and foremost, General NP talked about the modernization. Yes, that certainly is important. And I'm shocked and surprised that some of the modernization equipment which have come to the ordnance factories are lying unused. I remember the case in two factories, that is HAPP Trichy, which manufactures the FSAPDS ammunition for T-72, and Ordnance Factory Damdam, where two parallel lines are running. One line of the modern equipment with precision cutting tools, computerized systems, and parallelly the lathe system, the manual lathe system. When I asked them why are they doing this, is that there are some workers who are trained only in the lathe system, so they have to be accommodated. The pressure of the unions. So the ordnance factories certainly need a lot of modernization and sincere modernization. Secondly, the quality of a product depends to a very large extent on the input material, as the ordnance factories call it. We may call it ancillaries and spares and the components, some of which comes from sister ordnance factories, that is the ancillaries group, while some comes from the private sector. The ones coming from the private sector, some of them, their production capability is very limited. The ordnance factories place order on them, most probably without carrying out proper assessment whether they can actually manufacture those items or not. There is some rule that at least 15 or 20% or 25%, I don't remember the figures exactly, orders have to be placed on new firms, basically to develop new suppliers. These new firms are the ones who are going to manufacture it for the first time. They are supposed to supply these items to the ordnance factories in lots, in homogeneous homogeneous lots. Now, ordnance factories follow the system where quantitative targets are set for the workers, that they have to manufacture a particular number of components or a particular number of jobs by the end of the day, so that they are eligible for their payments, basically the overtime payments. Over a period of time, many workers are getting more of these incentives and payments more than their pay. And their life is totally dependent on this extra money which is coming to them. Now, whenever a particular component is not available, that worker has no job and he's agitated because it is affecting his payment. So what the ordnance factories do to overcome this labor problem, unions pressure, they tell the supplier to supply whatever is available with him. Small quantities, 400 numbers, 500 numbers, unspecified numbers, and they are in such a hurry that the moment that component comes, it is straightway put into production without carrying out any input material inspection, without any quality audit, without checking those documents. After a few days, that supplier supplies a few again. There's no homogeneity. There's nothing. There's nothing to trace their manufacture. Now, this creates a problem of quality right at the beginning, at the component level itself. And these failures are known only at the end product level. This results in returning of the store, carrying out investigation. Once they find out that particular component is defective, all those are again disassembled, weeded out, reworking is done, and then put into production. So this not only causes quality to suffer, but also the targets to suffer, overall targets. Next point is covered by General NP regarding non-adherence to the TOT documents. Now, unfortunately, there is a feeling among some qualified ordnance factory officers that they are more qualified than the designers themselves. Designers put in years of hard work, years of testing, years of designing a particular store. And thereafter, after carrying out repeated trials, they finalize the drawing of a store. Now, this chap finds that the particular procedure, particular material specified in the TOT document may not be possible with the ordnance factory without causing delays and so on. So he says that this design is faulty. I will manufacture it by following my way of work. Now, those who know metallurgy, they know that the heat treatment is a very vital process in any heat treatment plant. These metals, they are finally judged at the end stage by their hardness, by their grain sizes, and so on. Now, the required hardness and required grain size can be obtained by saving time, by following shortcuts. So ordnance factories readily go that, okay, why should we follow this long process? They adopt these shortcuts. They attain this required hardness, they attain the grain size, and they make the product thereafter doesn't have the same qualities which they had thought or designer had planned. Now, this adherence, and in case of T72, like General NP Singh rightly brought, there are many documents which are missing. They are not even put into use. Then they have a team of their own designers who continuously carries on product improvement, so-called product improvement. And that product improvement is basically aimed to suit their own processes. So these are the few issues which have to be kept in mind as a next step, because this work culture of the ordnance factory needs to be improved. Now, next point is the shortcuts. As Indians, we are all experts in shortcuts. And the same is done by the ordnance factories, even in the case of critical stores like ammunition and weapons. These shortcuts are adopted to suit their method of working, to suit their technology, to suit their machinery. and to reduce time. Then is the issue regarding homogeneity of the lot. Now, the ammunition is a store which is not, it can't be, tested. The moment you test it, it is gone. It is no longer available to the user. So it can't be tested 100%. It is tested on a sampling basis. The first principle of sampling is that the lot has to be homogeneous. That means it has to be manufactured from the same material, same cost of the material, same process, same components, and so on. Now, to meet a particular requirement, some numbers from previous lot are added to the next lot. Sometimes they go to the extent of adding rejected lot numbers into a present lot to make up a required lot quantity. This is totally unethical and unacceptable, because when you carry out defect investigation, since the lot is not homogeneous, the defect investigation leads to nothing. And that is the reason why many of the defect investigations have landed with no results. Documentation is a very important part of carrying out defect investigation, because from that document you can easily work out what were the likely defects in that particular lot. I remember a case of a Bulgarian ammunition which was imported some time back. When it came to CQA ammunition, Pune, which is the controlling authority, part of the DGQA, and 100% radiography was done. And to our horror, we found that a large number had their strikers assembled upside down. Those safety balls, in some, there were 2 balls instead of 1 ball. And there was one particular case in which there was no ball at all, which is very, very dangerous. 2 balls may lead to blind. No ball will lead to accident. When we raised this issue with Bulgarian authorities, they immediately called back all the ammunition back to Bulgaria. They carried out a defect investigation. And from their documentation, they could pinpoint who were people responsible for those defects. They took action against them. They sent a fresh lot to us, and which we found 100% correct. Now, QC, quality control. Quality control is a very important part during the production process and at each stage. Now, this was handed over to the Ordnance Factories some time back. When I say some time back, I'm referring to the early 2000s. But they don't have the required manpower. They don't have sufficient manpower. In fact, they have not exercised that to put good people in the QC department, because for them the production was more important than the quality. So the result is that all these stages of inspection are all left out. Now, there are 3 stages of inspection. The first party inspection is by the manufacturer himself. Second party inspection is by the user rep, in this case, armies. And the third party inspection is independent body, which is neither the manufacturer nor the user. So here what is happening is this first stage inspection, which is to be carried out by the Ordnance Factories themselves, is totally missing. In fact, they say that since the DGQA is part of Department of Defense Production, that should be considered as the first party inspection. In that case, there is no second party inspection, there is no third party inspection. In case we consider DGQA to be a second party as part of the army, then there is no first stage inspection. And the third stage, that is inspection by an independent agency, is totally missing, totally lacking. Even in the TOT documents, whether the TOT is ex abroad or from the DRDO, those TOT documents also specify that there has to be a periodic process audit. This process audit includes carrying out right from the step 1 to last step, whether the production is going as per the production document or as per the TOT documents. This is totally missing in the Ordnance Factories. Totally missing in the Ordnance Factories. In fact, they don't have any system of carrying out quality audit, this process audit. I have myself carried out a few process audits and found a lot of anomalies, a lot of deviations from the laid down TOT documents. I have carried out these as a second party process audit. The first party process audit is totally missing. This is very important. Then there have been some cases in the past which have come out where mixing of the lots is done. In some case, we found that even the lot numbers have been obliterated and new lot numbers put on them. Many times rejected stores come into circulation. Many times during the reworking process, when they fall short of the components, they disassemble old rejected lots and use those components into this particular lot. This has resulted in a lot of accidents, a lot of failures, and some of these accidents have been fatal. QA. I covered earlier the quality assurance, presently being done by the DGQA. Over a period of time, the role is being diluted by the Department of Defense Production. Since the DGQA is part of the same department, which also controls the Ordnance Factories. For the department, it is more important to reach a particular target, and they feel that the DGQA is a hindrance in production because they reject stores, they send back the stores for reworking and so on, not realizing that actually they are slowing down the production itself. Because in case they had manufactured these stores to the design, they would have never failed in first case. So the time wasted in reworking, wasted lots, adds to the target misery. I think I have covered enough points. I don't want to exceed the time allotted to me. In the end, in case there are any questions, I'll be very glad to answer. But like General NB said, this should be the first step towards the reorganization. This reorganization itself can neither improve the quality nor improve the targets. These require dedication on the part of Ordnance Factories, proper direction from the top, and proper restructuring. Because I have seen that even the PSUs have some of these problems which I mentioned in them. They are better than the Ordnance Factories, but they are not desirable even today. So if the Ordnance Factories adopt the same principle as the PSUs and think that things will improve, they are very, very wrong. They have to take very, very firm steps to curb these shortcomings. Thank you.